somewhere deep within I was hurt and there were some kind of insecurities and inhibitions. So I thought working on myself would help, and I thought I'll surrender to this process and do that. And then I think 2023 has been really wonderful year for me. That is the best year I
Mm-hmm.
can say. We are busy with our own lives in this busy world, right? If we get that one appreciation, even to women or to the men, it actually keeps them acknowledged, that we will be heard. That's the basic thing, right? When once we are heard, we will have a satisfaction that, okay, this person is there for me to reach out
Mm-hmm.
for this thing.
Yes.
So I think that mutualism should be, that mutualism will be so slowly and gently developed. It won't be happening at once.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to one more awesome episode of the Achievers Club podcast show. And in this particular episode, we have one more awesome guest named Dr. Srinidhi, who is an IT consultant and she's also a life coach. And currently, she is helping women. Most primarily, she's focusing on women in order to have emotional freedom so that they can have inner peace and many other things as well. But in this particular episode, we have not just discussed about women, but we have also discussed about the problems which men face in terms of their emotions, emotional resilience, and many other things as well. So please do make sure that if you are someone who is not having peace with what all things you have into your life, which means even though you are financially successful, even though you have all the other things which everybody is actually dreaming of, but still you're not having that emotional freedom into your life, you feel that caged life within yourself, then please do make sure that you watch this particular video till the end, this particular podcast till the end, because Dr. Srinidhi is someone who is already experienced into this particular field. And honestly speaking, while even recording this particular podcast, I was able to sense her coolness and calmness in terms of her emotions and many other things as well. So please do make sure that you watch this particular podcast till the end with your friends and family so that they can also learn about what is emotions, what is emotional resilience, and how we can be cool and calm so that we can achieve the best possible outcome for ourselves, and ultimately we can achieve the best possible results, not just in our overall finance part, but into our inner self as well. So please do make sure that you watch this particular podcast till the end, and let's begin with this particular podcast. Hey, Dr. Srinidhi, how are you doing? Finally, we are doing this podcast. So, first of all, it's an honor for me. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Sahil. Thank you so much for being very patient with me. And I'm so happy that I'm here today with you in this
Mm-hmm.
podcast.
Thank you so much. It's an honor for me. And first of all, for the very new audience, this is the general question which I do ask to all the guests, those who come up on our podcast show, is that who is Dr. Srinidhi for the very new audience, so that they can understand that what is the overall value which they are going to get for the next 30 to 40 minutes.
Yes, I think this is a very important question as well to set the context. So I'm Dr. Srinidhi, everyone, and I am basically a mother of 3-year-old, and also I'm 29 years old, but I have got lots of experiences around
Mm-hmm.
life, I can say, and I've been with various mentors in order to understand those life lessons. So
Mm-hmm.
let me tell you in detail. So I am into IT field. I work in the top IT firm as a project manager, and I have 8 years of experience. And apart from that, I am also a certified life coach and an author and a certified yoga instructor. It's an international certification for the yoga instruction. And so I have these titles, and I've recently received the honorary doctorate for the social service and the women empowerment, basically. And so I have started my journey when my son was born, when he was a tiny little baby,
Mm-hmm.
because I was having everything around outside. I have everything. I had bought my flat, I had bought my car, I had bought everything, what all a girl could, envision. But I still had something deep within me that was missing. I felt that I really need to work on that one point. That was the emotional resilience. Because I was able to get everything outside, but internally I was feeling inhibited. I was not at all, sometimes not able to speak up for myself, stand up for myself, even after achieving so much.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought I should not pass the same thing to my son. And that's where I used to read lots of books, but I thought having some mentor and learning from a person who can actually help us understand those loops, the negative loops or any patterns, and breaking those patterns, understanding those emotions, the resistances. So that's how I began my journey with a mentor just for myself. But later on, what happened is I started facilitating my mentor just to
Mhm.
understand a lot more about myself, because it's a continuous journey, right? So I started doing that, and now within an year, I've crossed more than 380 women whom I have served to just release their emotional traumas. Some of them have attempted suicide as well, like before this. So then they came to me and I have helped them. So it was a really good experience for me. It's just not only the service to them, but also, lot of life lessons and realizations for my own self as well. So I've learned from various mentors, world class mentors, and I'm still continuing learning with a kid. So everyone thinks that with a kid, it's not possible. We will have to sacrifice so many things. We'll have to adjust, compromise, and all that stuff. But I thought, no, why should I really do that? Because I'm always a career oriented person.
Mhm.
And I thought, let's see, let's give it a try and see how, if it works for me. Then it really worked. And this year was a result, and it had actually represented that anyone can do if they set the right intention towards it. So this is my basic background, and this is what I do even with my clients, that I teach them to build the emotional resilience, to have that courage, clarity, and confidence to
Mhm.
actually do whatever they like, handling all the responsibilities in a very, very gentle and careful manner.
That's great. And your introduction, honestly, it's really inspiring for me as well. Like, as a mother, also, you're working. And as you mentioned about career orientation, even I'm going to discuss a bit about this career orientation thing in like furthermore sections of this podcast. But as you mentioned, like, you are a life coach and you're specifically focusing on women. But even
Yeah.
before we starting this podcast, as you mentioned that if you are having like one too many coaching programs, then women's are there, but in one
Yeah,
to
yeah,
there are a lot of men those who are coming up to you, right?
yeah.
So this is like a general question which I do ask to a lot of life coaches also, because before this podcast we had a lot of life coaches on our podcast. So why do you specifically focus on women in terms of life coaching?
Okay. The simple answer which I would give is a healed woman is a healed world, is what I feel and what I believe. Because if you observe, women has the capacity and the power to reproduce a child, right? Like to produce a
Yes.
child.
Yes.
And I have been through a course where I have understood how powerful a woman's womb is. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
whole world in it, right? It
Mm-hmm.
gives birth to a baby, it again recycles, it comes back to the normalcy. It's actually, a kind of world within every woman. And I think if we start taking care of that, understanding those powers and the strengths a woman has, I think if they start understanding that concept, because it took a while for me to understand and to implement in my life. So similarly, I felt that if we, start helping women, because we get stuck with the emotions, we get stuck with our thoughts, some of the loops, some of the overwhelm, we get irritated to the minutest things, and we get angry, frustrated, we show it on our kids, we show it in the home without no reason. Like if we sit and ask them, what is that, what's bothering you, like no reason, they won't be able to identify what is that exact reason,
Mm-hmm.
right? So in order to, avoid those tiny little things which I had been through, then I thought working with the women would actually help them understand their strengths, and would actually help them take care of their own self and the family in a very better way. Once any
Mm-hmm.
person, if they start filling their own cup, it
Mm-hmm.
overflows, right? It overflows with joy, love, happiness, whatever it is. So instead of putting in the negative things, I have created a small community where women start filling their own cup first. Once
Mm-hmm.
they're satisfied, they start sharing the same things even with their family and to the nation, in fact. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I thought working with women is a lot more easier for me, because as I have gone through that journey. And men, I'm not sure how I'm getting the clients, but they also want to build that emotional resilience to handle themselves a lot better, because I feel that women, at least they cry, they vent out their pain, but men, I think they suppress their pain so much, and they need lots of confidentiality, the trust, that kind of, environment where they can actually start sharing that. So
True.
I think they are getting that in this community when the one to one is happening, because we keep things very private and safe, not shared with anyone. So that's how, one to many is happening for women and one to one is happening with men.
That's great. That's a great initiative. So congratulations for that as well. And you are doing a great job. So as you mentioned about the part of emotions also, and you mentioned about some of the strengths and weaknesses. So this was not the question which I was about to ask, but definitely as in when you mentioned about it. So what are the different kind of strengths a woman has? But she's like not aware about those strengths which she is having.
Yeah.
So can you describe some like general, or you can consider general strengths which you have observed into your own self and your clients also?
Yeah. So one thing what I have noticed is, like observed even within myself, is the one womb which I have told. Once
Hmm.
we start to understand the science behind it, we will never complain, or we will, not even utter bad words to our own self. Sometimes we say that I'm not good at this, I'm that, I'm this. But when God has, I feel that God's highest appreciation is a human being, and especially as a mother or woman, when you have that strength or capacity to give birth to a baby, even if it's not baby, at least the womb within is something very precious, is what I feel. That
Hmm.
is the highest strength, because she can actually create the whole world, right?
Yes.
Giving birth to a baby and, giving life, nurturing the kid. And it's in fact the next generation, nurturing the next generation, one mother at a time with one baby, right?
Hmm.
So it's something like that. And the second thing is, women are the givers. So, sometimes they may be feeling insecure or inhibited, or some of the other kind of negative aspects may be coming into their life, but on the whole they are the ultimate givers. And
Hmm.
so I think once they realize that happiness and the joy, and do it in a right way, understanding the right boundaries, I think any women will be, a super powerful givers and also the receivers. It's just
Hmm.
not the givers, right? We should also receive something,
Hmm.
so that is one a second thing which I can think of. And third thing, I think women can invest time to learn something new and to upgrade something new, because she always thinks about her family, that how to improve our lifestyle, how to face the challenges and all that stuff. So, we have to ignite that spark. Then I think any women can take this thing ahead. And weaknesses, I can say, sometimes, especially women who are carrying or just have recently gave birth, there are lots of emotions and the hormonal changes happening within her body. So that time, the weakness would be, understanding her own emotions, the self-awareness. We are not that educated, because these days, because of the social media and the internet, we are able to understand what exactly is happening, at least the basic knowledge of it.
Hmm.
But I think that is one thing which is a weakness, I can say, because if we overcome that, I think it's very easy again. And the second weakness, I think the physicality sometimes, because to recover, or the strength, basically because of the multitasking and all that stuff, the physical strength also needs to be maintained. So
Hmm.
sometimes, that also becomes a minor weakness kind of thing.
Okay. So, two of the weaknesses are like first is how do we take care of our emotions, and second is like our physical sense because of our multitasking thing and all. So that's a great one. And about the strength also, as you mentioned, like we should learn something. Like as a woman, we should learn a lot of things because as a woman, we are givers and we should be a receiver also. And we should learn because ultimately we are giving birth to a new world and ultimately we are also improving the overall lifestyle of our family. So that was a great one. And talking about the emotions part, so can you describe a bit about what are the different type of emotions which, let's assume I'm a man, but let's assume like even as a woman, they are unaware about what are the different emotions they go through, because I feel that in this world, even though there is like a lot of information around,
but there are lot of emotions which come from internal self, and they are unique to our own self, that we don't understand. And it can differ from situation to situation, and it can differ from person to person. So what are the different type of emotions which you have observed, maybe in your own life, maybe in your client's life, that those are the emotions which we are not aware about? And how do we, let's assume if they are negative, so how do we cope up with that? And if they are positive, so how do we improve those emotions so that we can get the best outcome from it?
Yeah. So emotions basically will be deep emotions and shallow emotions,
Mm-hmm.
to tell it
Yeah,
in like to the point.
two
So
different.
deep emotions are something which makes you happy, which brings that joy, which brings that satisfaction, which brings that harmony in your life. Those are all the positive emotions. Okay. The shallow emotions are the emotions which pull you down slowly, or
Okay.
sometimes all at once. It could be demise, it could be guilt, it could be shame, overwhelm, anger, many more emotions.
Yeah.
Those are the resistances which build up these shallow emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, emotions are two types: deep and shallow. Deep are the positive,
Positive
shallow are
ones,
the negative.
negative ones. Yeah.
So, yeah. And what happens is, if you have to build those deep emotions, we will have to start working on our own self.
Okay.
Okay. And for the shallow emotions, what happens is the shallow emotions can be built very easily, because our default mode would be the negative mindset, right? If
Yeah.
something happens, we quickly think that, okay, this might be this could be the reason, or we immediately start linking to the negative aspect. For example, if we have to go to office, if there is a traffic jam suddenly, where like we go on a regular basis, but there is no traffic jam on the other days, but today there is a traffic jam, and we immediately start thinking that just because of this, the negative emotions start building up in our own head, and we bring that into kind of anxiety. That is one another resistance again.
Mm-hmm.
And that anxiety brings out the stress. That stress brings out the sad or guilt, anger, whatever it is again.
Yeah.
These things enter into loops very quickly.
True.
And sometimes I have heard from many women that people comment on them saying that you're not taking care of your baby, but you're spending so much time at work. That actually brings the mom's guilt. That is one another thing. That guilt actually work, like it actually reduces the confidence levels of a mother also. Like they slowly start entering into the depression, anxiety, stress. They'll not be able to manage the time just because of one trigger if
Mm-hmm.
someone utters to them. And I think we really need to handle such minute emotions, like whatever is happening around us, just understanding what is that one trigger that's causing this whole thing. If we understand the trigger, whenever we are irritated, just spot out that emotion or the trigger or that word, single word. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I used to hear a word that I used to not like, the word help, seek help. I used to be like, no, 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 I won't take help at all. I want to be independent.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to change that, to actually seek help, it took me almost 3 months, I think. My mentor was telling, Srinidhi, it's okay, just seek help. That time I was so much, I didn't have trust basically. So just because of that guilt, we enter into lots of emotions, lots of negative emotions, lots
Mm-hmm.
of negative thoughts will be built up.
Mm-hmm.
And we also take the actions according to those thoughts,
Yes,
and
true.
even the habits also start building in the same way,
Mm.
just with that one emotion, with one word which we hear. So understanding that one word and working on it, like maybe we can understand why exactly are they saying, or what's exactly in it for me.
Mm.
If we understand that one question, we will have to be really conscious in doing that, because in the first stage we think this is all motivation, it won't work in a real life. But you know what, even I used to think I really wanted to implement in my life. I tried for almost 1 2 years on my own, but it was not happening. But once I was with my mentor, when she was guiding me each and every day, or at least once a week, that has helped me to be in that journey. And
Mm.
if I am deviating or distracting, I used to go back to her. No, this is not possible for me. I'm not able to trust that domestic help whoever has come. So how do
Mm-hmm.
I deal with it? There will be one trigger somewhere deep within, and once we identify that, if we start working on those things, I think these negative emotions will slowly come down. And so in order to, we cannot take each and everything all, it's a very lengthy process. So instead, we can also build this deep emotion slowly and gradually. How? By practicing few of the things. It could be, practicing gratitude, practicing affirmations for one own self, writing, the journaling every day, and having a vision board set for herself and her family, and just being kind to her own self. We'll have to be really kind to our own self. So I think that one thing would actually change the whole scenario. And at most important thing is to take charge of our own life. If we take charge of our own life, what basically happens is we take charge of our thoughts, we'll take charge of our emotions, then we will take charge of our habits, we will take charge of our actions, and at the end, we'll start taking charge of our own days, then months, and then years to pass by.
That's great.
So even this I have mentioned in my book, and I feel that is really powerful. We should understand that one thing, that we need to fill our own cup first, then we'll automatically, get these emotions sorted. Once we start working or being in that energy where we can understand these deep emotions and shallow emotions, what happens is we will catch ourselves when we are entering into that loop.
Okay.
Then we can immediately bounce back. If not immediately, it takes, lesser time. Sometimes if we are in that negative thoughts, if someone had told some word, we may think for days and months and hold a grudge for so long, and we may stop talking to them. Lots of things happen, right? But those emotions will be actually stored in our entire body in some other place, and we start getting those diseases as well. So instead, understanding that emotions segregate like deep or shallow. Just if it's shallow, understand that, and ask yourself, what is in it for me, what is it trying to teach me. I think that one conscious step will help us change our thinking pattern, because it creates new neural pathways, and it actually makes our life more easy and beautiful.
That's great. So it was a profound answer, and I'm able to collect a lot of things from what you spoke right now in last few minutes. And correct me if I'm wrong. So there are two type of emotions. So first is deep emotions, which are positive ones like joy, enlightenment, positivity, and other things. And the second are the shallow ones. Those are negative, right? So the negative ones are the emotions. Okay. So first of all, we have to be aware that whether it is like a deep thought, like whether it is a deep emotion or a shallow emotion. And deep are the positive, shallow are the negative ones. And if we are having shallow emotions, it could be through some of the triggers, and we have to observe those triggers. Maybe it could be through somebody else that they are speaking their words, or it could be through our own words, through our own statements, through our own actions. So we have to be aware. We have to be aware about it, and we have to start replacing it. And along with that, the best practice which we can follow is to build the deep emotions. And we can build through gratitude journal, we can build through affirmations, vision board, and journaling thing.
Yeah, journaling.
Right.
And there are many more procedures which we can
Hmm.
follow. It depends on each person. I'm so much connected to gratitude. Because
True.
if a person is complaining about her own self, that I'm not able to do that, I'm not able, any person will think that I should do everything and anything. But we are not omnipresent to do anything and everything all at once, right? So that time, what happens is we complain, blame, and just about ourselves. So that I'm not able to give fully to my child, I'm not able to do that, I'm not able to go to some family event, I'm not able to give my 100% at job, at the work.
Yeah.
So we start complaining about our own self. So that actually reduces once I started practicing the gratitude. So it was really a miraculous one, I can say. And I, in my community, I make everyone do that gratitude, because your vibe attracts your tribe, right? So based on that belief and that truth, I make everyone practice the gratitude every day.
True. Even this is the same for me also. I'm doing this since last 1.5 years. And even from the day I started my community, I'm also having this habit that everybody should post their goals and gratitude journal in the groups also. So that's working for me, and that's working for everybody in our community also. So getting back to the point, like we are discussing about emotions part, we are discussing about like how we can build the positive outcomes in our life. So can you describe a bit about your, let's assume, your best experience when you took charge of your emotions, and maybe some of the worst experiences also, when it's like when the situations are not in our favor or something like that. It could be your experiences, it could be your client's experiences also.
Okay. So positive experiences or the memories which I can say after taking charge of my life is I am able to trust the people around me.
Okay.
Sometimes what happens with a kid, you cannot trust as a mother. We
Mm-hmm.
may think that they may not give good food, they may not treat them well. What if they may scold them or, not take care like I do? Those are small things which actually become so big. And that was
Mm-hmm.
one thing for me. And then when I started working on my own self, taking charge of my things and understanding how exactly do I need to respond,
Mm-hmm.
taking charge of my own responses, I think have changed the complete game because I was able to trust them, understand what kind of boundaries I can set to the people. Like having the right boundaries with the right people will actually set the right expectations. So that has helped me to understand on whom I can depend for one need. For
Mm-hmm.
emotional need, maybe, I can just speak with my close friends, or for, if I need some kind of help, if I need some kind of advice, I can depend on my mentor. So that has actually shaped my life so beautifully now
Mm-hmm.
because I know how to actually bounce back. Previously, if I get to hear anything that you are depending on us. I have done so much for you, but you are not at all doing anything for me. Those are the common sentences and dialogues which we hear
Yes.
that used to make me so much disappointed. So, that time I used to spend lots of time just holding that in my mind. I used to do all the other activities,
Mm-hmm.
but with that joy, with that happiness, I completely lost that deep within me. So then, once I started doing this, I think that joy came back. That is one thing. And this, like 2023, has been the result of the efforts which I had really put on my own self. Because
Mm-hmm.
people used to think, why are you doing all this stuff? But somewhere deep within, I was hurt and there were some kind of insecurities and inhibitions. So I thought working on myself would help. And I thought I'll surrender to this process and do that. And then I think 2023 has been really wonderful year for me. That is the best year I
Mm-hmm.
can say. And some of the negative memories or the emotions there, like everyone has some of the other stories, right? I had many stories. I have been very like good girl syndrome, if you can say. Good daughter, good, daughter-in-law, good wife, and all that. Good girl syndrome, kind of. So
Mm-hmm.
from the childhood, I used to never, I was not that much mischievous, I can say. I used to go to school, I used to study, even if I don't like. I got admitted into the college, which I didn't even, thought of joining, or which I didn't even have in my mind. But when I had to go to the college for the day one, I mean, on the day one, I was thinking that I thought to join some other college and I'm here. It's just not because of rank or something. I have achieved good rank and all that stuff. But just, due to the circumstances and all, I had to join the nearby college to my
Mm-hmm.
home. So I usually escaped my emotions there and started learning those things, the concepts of electronics, which I really don't like. I started learning those and I had been gold medalist. So that is one lesson which I can say, that is one negative emotion which
Mm-hmm.
I had, that I was not able to go to the good, like the college which I thought, but I'm here. But that one negative emotion has actually helped me understand that I can take better action towards it and came out well. So those, like, there are many stories in fact which had changed my life. And one another example is when my um, son was born, and I was not at all able to handle my emotions well. I used to shout for no reason. Shout in the sense like I have a patience level, and if that patience level of 1 year or 2 years
Mm-hmm.
goes off, right, I don't know what I talk, but that actually helped me understand that I'm just losing out my harmony within, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where I understood that I need to start working on my own self, because I cannot just demonstrate that to my son because he will anyways kids role model us, right? So then I realized that this is not the way I should bring up my child, and that is one situation, one tipping point where I had to actually take the strict action towards my own self.
Hmm. That's great.
And there are many more stories if I have to tell. I can tell days together.
That's great. So that was also inspiring for me, the best and the worst experiences. So how do we take charge of that? That is also important for me and for the audience also. So this is like the question which I do ask, but to the very few people with whom I feel that this can actually make a difference in people's life, is that in next 5 to 10 years down the line, because see, this is what I'm able to observe. You can correct me if I'm wrong. That like till 2015 or till 2020, I guess, uh, the women's, they were taking charge of this world. They were having the best of the best positions in the world, and they were not getting recognized. They were not getting, let's assume, that respect from the overall society and all. But after 2015 or I think 2020, I don't remember the year, but after that, now it's like the catalyst thing. But the worst scenario is that now people are mentioning that now women are completely in charge and they don't respect the men, and now they think that they're completely independent, which I feel that that's completely wrong. And internally, if I tell you honestly, I felt since my childhood that men and women are already completely equal. We are human beings, so we are completely unique beings, and we should respect each other whether they are men or women. But let's keep society apart. But as we are discussing about this podcast also, and we are discussing about the society part, so what are the things which overall mankind should keep in mind while dealing with not just women part, but also
Yeah.
while dealing with men? Because as you mentioned, that men's do suppress their emotions. They don't cry because since childhood they are mentioned that you don't have to cry and all. And even in one of the podcasts we discussed about this one thing, that although men are privileged, that they have these facilities, they do get respect from day one and all, but they are suppressed with the help of with their emotion part, that you don't have to cry, you have to be strong, and you can't cry in front of hundreds of people. But women have that privilege, women can do that. But like how do we have that thing? Like what are the things which you are expecting that 5 to 10 years down the line, what is an ideal society like? What are the people in that society doing, men and women both?
Yeah, I think I'll focus on the words independent and mutualism here.
Yep.
So when even I thought I'm an independent,
Yes.
but that I feel that the right kind of independence in our nature, at least to oneself,
Mm-hmm.
it happens when we start having the right interdependence on each one of us. Because even in our nature,
Mm-hmm.
like the birds depend on the plants, or the
Yes.
pollen grains, or the
Yes.
grains, the nuts, whatever. There is kind of interdependency, right? So I have heard it from one of my mentors that Lord Indra, his
Mm-hmm.
kingdom is like a web. No
Okay.
one can, no external force can enter, right? It's like a web.
Mm-hmm.
And each what do you call, in the web, each string, we can say, let's
Yep.
consider it a string.
Mm-hmm.
So those are all interlinked. And if we say that a woman and a man, if in the society, they should like the intersection, especially in the Indra's kingdom, it's like, they make it so strong that no one can enter. It's the same thing when in mutualism,
Mm-hmm.
which I am expecting because of the social media and the influencers and lots of learning which we are
Mm-hmm.
getting from YouTube and all that stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
think this point where, the men qualities and I mean, basically the masculine and feminine qualities intersect, it should actually become more like a diamond. We'll have to understand that how the exact interdependence could be built. We
Mm-hmm.
think that sometimes, it's just because I have been reading through some of the journals, and I understood that generational trauma is one such thing which is making that thing. Like if we are working, if women is working, we say that I am independent, but emotionally they are not independent. They
Mm-hmm.
may be independent financially, but we will have to build that emotional independence also. Because if you see, after a marriage, women completely depends on the men, like her
Mm-hmm.
husband, for all her needs.
True.
Just before her marriage, she had her father, to ask few questions or to rely on something, and mother to rely on something, and siblings to rely on her fun, friends to go out and share jokes and stories and study. She has that whole picture. But after marriage, like in our country especially, we have that, once you are married, our responsibility is done. We hear such things, right? So
True.
what happens, even her mindset has built in such a way that she has to completely depend on her husband. Even if she is financially independent, she think that I'm financially independent, I'm not depending on you, but she actually needs that emotional need. Every human being has that, right? Men
Mm.
has that emotional need, women has that emotional need. I think once we start respecting those differences, as you told, each person is unique. Once we start respecting those differences by being independent in their own ways and building that diamond, that how that diamond can be built is by respecting each other's differences, explaining their anger because of these differences. That's how conflicts begin, right? So explaining that anger, we'll have to make that conscious effort to explain that anger as well. So once we start explaining that anger, I think it makes the relationship better. And even in the office, because there will be some male colleagues and female, so they'll have to be certain respect to each other. So that can be built when we put that conscious efforts. And after that, when we are sharing the responsibilities, I think we need to acknowledge each other, because the self identity crisis actually begins because I'm earning, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm taking care of the entire household, but she won't be getting that appreciation or acknowledgement because we are busy with our own lives in this busy world, right? If we get that one appreciation, even to women or to the men, it actually keeps them acknowledged, that we will be heard. That's the basic thing, right? When once we are heard, we will have a satisfaction that, okay, this person is there for me to reach out for this thing.
Yes.
So I think that mutualism should be, that mutualism will be so slowly and gently developed. It won't be happening at once, but because of the knowledge that we are having and the wisdom that's being shared now, we previously, when I had to, get understand few of the things, it was really very difficult. When I was in seventh standard, I think I went to Ramakrishna Mutt for the first time, and I did all the courses there, but still, the access was very limited. It was in the year 2014, I can say. Then when I was in engineering, and no, now I can see the difference. If I want that mentor, I can reach him online, ask him if he can provide me one-to-one guidance and help me understand those areas which I'm actually struggling.
True.
So I think on that basis, we will learn and evolve and grow. And I think that independence comes by having the right kind of interdependence, depending for the right things, and setting those personal boundaries and respecting each other's needs. And when that happens, we'll have the mutualism. So then, because in this fast-paced world where everyone is educated, learning, earning, think that when this mutualism comes, when we acknowledge each other, I think it would be really good. And it definitely takes time. I think in 5 to 10 years, I think the next generation kids are super fast, right? They are demonstrating that anyway. So I think it will actually become a better place to live.
That's great. And even this is what I'm expecting for, this is what I'm waiting for. So that was also a profound answer. And so far, I'm able to observe that you are very cool and calm. So how do we develop that cool and calm temperament? Because I think there is a lot of emotions which do play a lot of role. There are a lot of thoughts, because as we all know, 60 to 70,000 thoughts do come up every single day. So how do we control those thoughts, and how do we control those emotions to be cool and calm?
When you told this, I remembered about one situation where I had a very close friend in my engineering. I treat him like my brother. So he was the guy, like he used to always be with me, and he used to be there for me. And my father, my parents, and we both, like, we went for a movie. He was a fan of Junior NTR, Telugu actor.
Okay.
So we went for the movie, Junior NTR or some movie, some other actor. I don't remember exactly. There were lots of fights and all that stuff. And in that, one of the actress, she used to not show any emotions on her face. And my friend was telling that you are the same person, that no emotions will be shown on your face.
Mhm.
I just remembered that situation and I'm just sharing it here. So
Mhm.
I think from childhood, I have been told that you should not immediately reject or say no to people. Like my father and grandfather told me that. So then I thought, okay, everyone has their own story. So we should not be immediately, so angry or judge people so quickly until
Mhm.
and unless we know the story. So that was one thought that was deep rooted within me, and I have been practicing that for many years. And I think that had actually made my nature as a naturally calm and cool
Mhm.
person. And but though I had rough phases sometimes, I didn't show my emotions because I used to always suppress my emotions. Because
Mhm.
even that will make you look calm and cool.
Mhm.
But that one thing, when I started addressing to handle that emotional condition and emotional suppression, just by taking action, one thing at a time,
Mhm.
that had now I know, like, if some thought comes, I know how to handle it. For
Okay.
example, if we are jealous,
Mhm.
usually we'll have that envy, right? If
Mhm.
someone, there is lots of comparison that happens in our country, like his daughter has got 1 lakh paycheck, and you're still, even if you're earning 1 lakh 10,000, like 10,000 difference is there,
Mhm.
still people feel that she is great or he is great. Now
Mhm.
that comparison happens. We'll have to understand from a point where this emotional maturity comes. You know,
Mhm.
in some relationships, we are receivers and the givers. We'll have to understand our role in our relationships. Then I think our emotional maturity also slowly begins. And once that happens, our responses again, will change. The intention behind those responses change. And
Mhm.
with that intention itself and the responses which we give responsibly to make that relationship work, I think will keep you really calm and cool, and nothing won't be triggered within, right?
Mhm.
Nothing in the same, nothing won't be triggered in negative way, I mean.
Mhm.
So I think that will actually help us be really cool and calm.
Mhm.
And we should always be in a state of gratitude. And if something goes wrong, we should ask, what is this guy or girl trying to teach me through this situation?
Mhm.
But that happens, I think, with a constant practice. We'll have to be in that environment where we should be with people who are actually like that, so that it helps us learn more quickly, I can say.
That's great. And even this is one of the like you might you have you read this book that is Seven Habits of Highly Effective People?
I still did not read it, but I
Yeah,
still
so the
have
so
it.
the
I have
first
got it
quality
8 years
is to
back.
be proactive. So I,
Okay.
I feel that when we are being cool and calm, we are ultimately being proactive and we are not reacting within that situation, within that one moment itself. So I feel that that quality is it's completely deep rooted into you, so that's great to observe that quality. And now we have discussed a lot about your professional life and what do you do in a professional career and all, but now we will dive deeper into your personal life, some of the questions which I'll try to ask so that we can understand as the audience also, so that who you are as a person except the professional part. So the first question which I do ask is that what is the definition of money according to you? Because I'm into stock trading and investing, so money is completely correlated to us. So, what is the definition of money according to you as a life coach?
Okay. Money, I think, is a fuel for
Mm-hmm.
us to improve our lifestyle. And we might have heard many things from the spiritual background or just from the excuses. Excusitis is what one word I have learned last week. That is,
Mm-hmm.
we'll always find excuses to not achieve something or to not just finish the work. If we have to finish the work, we find many excuses to just avoid it if it's difficult. So if we are in that excusitis mode, I think we will be thinking that if we have more money, we are not spiritual. If we have more money, we are greedy. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
those are the definitions we have heard, right? But I think if we have more money, it's like a fuel that helps us to serve more people,
Mm-hmm.
to actually experience what we want. For me, I have invested so much in my education. If I didn't have that money, I think I would not have been here talking with you all these things. So
That's true.
I think money is really essential, and now, at least in this years after COVID, we have found lots of resources and lots of sources through which we can earn good income, and make our lives better in all the aspects: physically, mentally, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. Spiritually, we had lots of confusions. But if we go to a right person with whom we can resonate with and learn from them, I think
Mhm.
half of the things, half of the doubts, half of the confusions, or lots of unlearnings happen. So I think money is really needed for overall well-being. When I say these five elements: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and intellectual.
Actually, that's
Yeah.
great. And the second question would be like, uh, this is like arranging the three things. So it's like money, health, or relationship. What comes first according to you as at a personal level? So what would you prioritize, money, health, or relationship?
Relationships first, next health, and next money. Because I believe that quality of our life depends on the quality of relationships we have. When I say
Mm-hmm.
relationships, it's with the relationship with our own self first, relationship with people around, and relationship with the God, like the
Yeah.
spirituality, like how
Yeah.
we, if we are good with ourselves, we'll be good with other people. And if we are good with other people, I think that's the highest divinity, right?
Mm.
Serving the humankind is the highest divinity, or that's what it is. What I learned and what I realized. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the relationships comes first for me. Physicality. So physical, the health wise, we'll have to definitely take care of our health, because once we are good with our relationships, the physical well-being will be automatically good.
Mm.
Otherwise, if you have too many responsibilities, you might have observed pain in your back here, somewhere in the middle, something tight, some tightness will be there, Once we have this clear, our physical well-being will be clear, and body, we can take care of it so well. You can just jump for 10 times, like do the jumping jacks, or
Mm.
3 times a day, or you can just round in your home. If you're not able to go out and walk, just round in your home, just having before having your dinner. You can keep your physical fitness very well, even doing those tiny little things. And the third thing, money, definitely, because it actually helps us to keep these both in a very good shape,
Mm. That's true.
because everyone expects rewards and appreciation and acknowledgement. I think we can, if money is there, I think we can acknowledge them in a lot more different ways and keep our life more interesting.
That's a great answer. And one question which I forgot to mention in the professional part is that uh, any books or podcast recommendations, because you are an author as well, so you can describe a bit about your book, and you can give some suggestions also in terms of, let's assume, managing the emotions. If there are any books, you can mention those, or if you want to share some of the books based on personal development or any other aspect, you can just
Okay.
mention the name, and you can also describe like what it can help us as an audience.
Okay. So I don't have my book here, but in my book, I have written completely about this emotional resilience, like how a person can bounce back even if a person is too much hurt, too much,
Mhm.
in the deep, shallow emotions, not the deep, but complete shallow emotions. Okay. So
Mhm.
that is one thing which I have covered, and the basics of what practices one can follow in order to
Mhm.
just get back onto track. And
Mhm.
other one which I can
So,
show
what's
is
the name of your book? Of
Embrace Your Life.
Embrace Your Life. Okay, that's
Yeah,
great.
and this is one another book, if you can see.
Mhm.
And I love this book because it also talks about the similar things, and it talks about the gratitude and all that stuff. And it boosts up your confidence, it boosts up your energy. When I have read this book, it was, every day was something different for me. I had
Mhm.
approached my day in a complete different mood, in fact. And the other one, I have read this recently, the
Speed
Speed
well.
Wealth.
Mhm.
So this one is also very good in order to start taking action, basically, to start earning money.
Mhm.
And I have only few books here which I kept
Yeah.
to read, and this is my favorite, Bhagavad Gita. So
Mhm.
there's one thing which I always keep at my desk. At least understanding one shloka and implementing that one thing would make whole difference in our life. And there are
Mhm.
many books. I have 450 books in my bookshelf now. So the mostly, like, my favorite book is Secret. The Secret is one book. The second book is Man's Search for Meaning. The third one is As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. James Allen books are very small, but
Mhm.
they are really profound. So I encourage everyone to read his books. And yeah, I read mostly the self-help books. Emotional intelligence was one important book that has helped me so much to understand my emotions. Like, it has 4 steps. So 4 or 3 steps as far as I remember. So that book has actually helped me in understanding my own emotions. Emotional intelligence is one other book. There are many books, in fact,
Yeah.
but these are the things which I can remember at the moment.
So that's great. And thank you so much for sharing all those things. And the very last question would be like any last advice for the, let's assume we are now categorizing into women's. First is the, let's assume not two, but we are categorizing into three. So first is young girls in
Mm.
their teenage or somewhere like 20, 25, I think before marriage age, right? So first we are categorizing those. Second are the women's, those who are married, but they are not parents yet. And third are the category of the women's, those who are parents as well. So three
Oh,
categories, one advice would also be good to go.
yeah. I think the young adults, I can say,
Mm-hmm.
uh, take charge of your own life, like
Mm-hmm.
take charge of your emotions. So once that is sorted, you can find right person in your life. You can earn right in the right way. Like you can
Mm-hmm.
make lots of money. You can have right career. You can be in a very good profession, whichever you wish to have, and you will have the better health as well, because you'll start taking charge of your own life. So that is really very important, because that is the age where we will not know where to go if we meet or come across a challenge. So that
Mm-hmm.
time, it's really important to sit down for a second, wait for a second, and just think, and then take that step ahead. So that is one thing for the young adults. For the women who are not parents but married, I think setting the right kind of boundaries is very important. Having the right expectations from the right kind of people is really very important to have better relationship with yourself, and also better relationship with the new family they are in, right? And for women who have kids, who are the parents, I
Mm-hmm.
think we need to trust the kids, because if we trust our own kids, I think it actually will be a game changer, because that has worked so much for me. Trust your child. That is
Mm-hmm.
one piece of advice I can give.
That's great. Or anything else which you would like to add to the overall audience? Because I think there are a lot of men also, those who are watching this podcast. So anything else which you would like to add apart from this overall podcast?
Yeah, I think as you told, crying is bad. We cannot cry and all. At least, we should go to washroom if you feel like crying, and then just vent out those emotions, and come back strong.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, crying is not a bad thing. It's just our emotions which are coming out, and they should not be held so strongly and stubbornly within our own selves, because it turns into disease, and again it ruins everything: relationships, career wealth, and the physical well-being also. So again, we'll fall into that victim mode. So it's good if you feel like crying. I think it's good to cry, and not feel that shyness or shame. When maybe take that, go into that private place and cry. And I think for everything to happen, I think we should really take charge of our own life. We should accept our own self acceptance is one such important thing for me. Then I have shared it in other podcasts also. I think it's about the self, looking at one own self in the mirror. We'll not be able to look into the mirror, if we feel something weird
And why is that so?
initially when we practice. But after we start getting comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
once we start being comfortable, I think the self acceptance comes, and we will be super confident in whatever we are doing. So that is like, there are lots of things I've shared now, but self acceptance is the one which I want to go with.
That's great. So thank you so much, Dr. Srinidhi, for being on our podcast show. And it was an honor for me because honestly, for the overall last 30 to 40 minutes, I got a lot of inspiration moments. I got a lot of answers to my own questions. And I feel that audience is also going to get a lot of answers towards their own emotions, whether they're men or whether they're women, whether they're teenagers or whatsoever. And looking forward to see you in upcoming new podcast as well. And definitely we will have some new initiatives for our audience as well. And once again, thank you so much from bottom of my heart for being on our podcast show. It was really a privilege for me that you did a podcast with us, and specifically for emotions, specifically based on emotions, because we had a lot of life coaches, but nobody described about emotions, and nobody described about emotions of a woman. So it was an honor for me. And you are such a person who has already achieved great results, not just about their relationship, but in every aspect of life. So once again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sahil. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Once again, thank you so much for watching this particular episode till the end. And I hope that now you're absolutely clear about what is emotion, what is emotional resilience, and how you can be more cool and calm, and how you can have that inner peace inside you, so that no matter what amount of money you're making into your life, no matter what is happening into your relationship, internally you are being cool and calm so that you can get the best possible outcome for yourself. And please do make sure that whatever takeaways you had so far from this particular podcast, make sure that below this particular video in the description box, I've shared all the social handles of Dr. Srinidhi. You can tag her, you can tag me as well, and you can share all the breakthroughs to her in her Instagram message, so that she can also feel that whatever value you got, that was worth her time, efforts, and most importantly, her own wisdom and her own experience as well. Because honestly speaking, as I already mentioned in the introduction as well, that she is one of the person I've met in my life who is very cool and calm, and who has already implemented all the things which she spoke into this particular podcast. So please do make sure that you follow her on Instagram and subscribe to her YouTube channel and all other social platforms as well. And looking forward to see you in the next podcast. Till then, please do make sure that if you like this particular content, then please do make sure that you share at least one suggestion on what topic we can bring on guest on our podcast show. And please do make sure that you share this particular episode with at least one friend of yours, so that they can also be cool and calm into their own life, and they can understand the value of emotions, and how we can be more emotionally resilient, and how we can build that inner peace inside us. Till then, live fully, love openly, and make the difference today. I wish you joy and abundance in all you do.